Okay, so let's meditate a little bit at the beginning. We'll practice Tonglen again, um, as a way of generating a positive motivation, and just to kind of review. And because it is the essence of the mind training practice. I mean, the essence is really the attitude of great compassion, which gives rise to bodhicitta, which to become enlightened. And then as a way of, I mean, Tonglen is actually part of the one method for generating bodhicitta. But also, it's kind of like, the way it's talked about in the 7-point mind training kind of looks like, Tonglen is not really looked at like just a method to develop bodhicitta, like just a cause of bodhicitta, but more like something you do to incorporate everything you experience into this attitude of bodhicitta. And so just a way of dealing with all the fortunate and unfortunate circumstances you encounter as a way of transforming them into your spiritual practice with the attitude of bodhicitta, then practicing Tonglen. Whatever hardships you have, blame it on the self-cherishing mind and ignorance, and then use it, put it on that, blame it on that, and draw it into that and destroy that, and thereby be grateful for the hardships we encounter. And then when we, and also remind us, it's like, when we're suffering, look, what's the cause of the suffering? My own negative karma. This is what it arises from. And when I have a headache, when I have, a relationship problem, when I have, my own death, the tragedy of dying and being separated from all those we love and know and everything familiar. And then taking rebirth and having to do it all over again. So why is all of that? It's the blame on karma. Where does the karma come from? From my own afflictive emotions. What is the root of those afflictive emotions? My own selfish attitude and self-obsessed concern. And where does that come from? This very subtle grasping at a self that exists independently from its own side, without, and it is real. As real as it appears to me, just believing in this false appearance that, eons of our habituation to this wrong view of the self give rise to. So seeing all of that, then whenever we experience hardship, one, we recognize, okay, I have to stop creating negative karma. I have to not use my body, speech, and mind in a way that's harmful to others, harmful to myself in any way whatsoever. So I totally refrain from killing, stealing, lying, slander, even, malicious thoughts, even thoughts of covetousness. So totally abandon even the thoughts, not to mention the speech and the physical actions of harming, wishing to harm any, and try to generate, positive attitudes, loving kindness, compassion, generosity, patience. So every time we experience hardship, it should give rise to remembrance of that, to not harm and to use our life to benefit others as much as we can. And then second, so remind us of the cause of all this contaminated karma, this negative karma, my own selfish attitude and ignorance. So remind us to reduce those attitudes. And then three, whenever we experience hardship, suffering, should remind us of the suffering of others. Countless other sentient beings, suffer just like I do, even much worse. Relative to all them, I'm amazingly fortunate, especially because I've met the Buddha Dharma. I have and it's given me tools to work with my afflictive emotions, to bring meaning to my life, and meaning even to my, the most disturbing and harmful experiences that I have. And not to mention, give me a very positive, incredibly positive, a radically positive outlook that I have the potential to achieve full enlightenment. All other sentient beings have the potential to achieve full enlightenment. Therefore, every breath I take can be so infinitely meaningful. If combined with this attitude of bodhicitta, then I think, okay, this breath I'm going to use to take on the suffering of others and use it to reduce my own selfish attitude, my own ignorance. And every exhalation, I use it to offer whatever I can, offer my possessions, offer my body, offer my roots of virtue, my happiness to others in whatever form is beneficial to them. So then we use every experience in life, and we transform it into something that's like more precious than gold, more precious than diamonds, more precious than a skies full of diamonds or wish fulfilling jewels. Literally, even if we had skies, oceans of diamonds, even if we had, I don't know, Empire State Building full of diamonds, yes, we could buy anything we want. We'd be a billionaire. But, that doesn't buy you happiness. It can't bring meaning to your life. You still experience old age, sickness, death, jealousy, um, criticism from others, and so forth. Can't give you enlightenment. But this attitude, bodhicitta, then it's leading you directly to enlightenment in the moment. Every moment you generate, even a contrived bodhicitta, in that moment you're coming closer to freedom from suffering for yourself and coming closer to freeing all sentient beings from suffering. It's incredible. Mhm. So yeah, try to generate a bodhicitta attitude and then practice Tonglen for a few minutes, especially thinking of all the difficulties, that you face, that we face. Bring them into the practice of Tonglen. And then think of all the suffering and difficulties others face. Others, caught up in war, famine, abuse, all the global warming, climate destruction, you know, all the frustration with politicians and governments, and with bigotry, persecution, different groups. So all of that, bring it into the practice of Tonglen. And then all the things I just mentioned are all the suffering of suffering. Obviously, suffering conditions people are in, but also think of the suffering of change. Even most of the pleasant experiences that we have and we crave after and others crave after, mostly it's just the suffering of change, just short lasting experiences, pleasures of the body mostly, even pleasures of the mind, craving for fame, wealth, power, praise from others, things that they're not fundamentally dissatisfying, just short-lasting kind of pleasures that transform into dissatisfaction, disappointment, and craving for more. So all that suffering of change of oneself, suffering of change of others, also bring that into practice of Tonglen. May I be free from that. May others be free from the suffering of change. May I place all of this on the selfish mind and ignorance. And thereby may I and others be free from these and all the afflictive emotions. And then think of the third type of suffering, pervasive compounding suffering. So how all sentient beings, how they're even when they're not experiencing, painful feelings or pleasant feelings, even all the neutral experiences are in the nature of pervasive compounding suffering because those beings are still under the control of karma and afflictive emotions. And they have infinite seeds of karma in their mind streams waiting to ripen. Most of the experiences they have are shaped is the ripening of past karma they've created because they have ignorance, attachment, anger, and all the other afflictive emotions in their mind. They create karma moment by moment and trigger the seeds of past karma to ripen. So they're just like, like a piece of driftwood being pushed around on the ocean, or like a leaf being blown in the wind of a storm, just helplessly carried from one experience to another without really understanding what's going on, dying and taking rebirth again and again. Each life forgetting what happened in the previous lives. So then take all that into the practice of Tonglen. Compassion for oneself, compassion for others, experiencing pervasive compounding suffering. Imagine freeing oneself, freeing others from that, from all three kinds of suffering by practicing Tonglen. And then finally transform all that into a motivation for the session tonight, for the class tonight. Thinking whatever I do during this session, may it strengthen my practice of bodhicitta, strengthen my practice of caring for others, strengthen my aspiration for full enlightenment, and help me become more skillful, more enthusiastic, have greater perseverance and greater focus, and learn how to use every experience in my life, good or bad, to transform into something that benefits, helps me grow in the spiritual path, thereby benefiting me and benefiting others. Also pleasing the Buddha Dharma Sangha, pleasing the mind of the teachers, pleasing all my virtuous friends, and giving me a sense of satisfaction myself, with myself. Okay, let's we can count that as all our prayers at the beginning. So, okay, I need to share my screen, my God of Zoom. Um, so tonight we'll finish going through the 7-point mind training. We just have the last two sections to go through, and then I'll also explain the eight verse, uh, 8 verses of mind training about transformation by Langri Tempa. Then we'll see if we have. Hopefully, we'll have some time to meditate at the end, and of course for question and answer, and then maybe a bit more extensive dedication, I hope. I was just thinking as we were meditating on the motivation, I don't think I've sent out one question for homework. No, so this whole module, no. I was thinking the other day, like, how am I going to make a self-assessment exam at the end? It's going to be very experiential based questions, which is fine. It's just, I don't know. The last module on bodhicitta I did, there's a lot more information and questions and things. This module, it's just been more like, yeah, look at this practice of mind training and try to get some experience, and then look at this text on it, which is great. So anyway, I'm happy with where it's gone, but I hope you don't mind the lack of homework questions. I never heard anyone complain about not having enough homework. But the homework has been, you try to meditate a little bit, read over the text again. I mean, but after this class, in between now and whenever you do the self-assessment, I guess, the homework is just, read over this text, 7-point mind training. Try to remember as much as you can of, what I've explained about each of the lines in the text in general, and then try to, think how to incorporate that into your daily life, and especially relate it to the practice of Tonglen and bodhicitta. Okay, so I'll just review the 7 points. We're on the 6th. Are they here? Oh, they're not listed here. Anyway, they're listed this way. So the first, explaining the preliminaries as a basis for the practice. Right, so in the 7-point mind training, we ask, well, what are the 7 points? First is explaining the preliminaries, just the preliminaries, which are the basis for all the practice. Then the actual practice, training in the awakening mind. And there's 2 awakening minds, right? The ultimate awakening mind is the meditation on emptiness. And then the conventional awakening mind is bodhicitta, right? The actual ultimate awakening mind is a direct perception of emptiness, which one only achieves on a very high level of the path of seeing. But, just when we, anytime we meditate on emptiness, we're practicing, working towards generating the actual awakening mind. So it's kind of a practice of the awakening mind in that way. Anyway, so the actual practice is the two awakening minds. So the actual practice, is, meditating on emptiness and meditating on bodhicitta, right? That's the essence of the mind training. And then, then an additional essence, I guess you say, I don't know, there's a lot of essence here, is transforming adverse circumstances into the path, right? And that's Tonglen. That's, and other practices that go together with it, but mainly Tonglen. Yeah, as it says, when the environment and its inhabitants overflow with unwholesomeness, transform adverse circumstances into the path, apply meditation immediately at every opportunity. The supreme method is accompanied by the four practices of accumulating merit, purifying negative karma, making offerings, and supplicating the Dharma, making offerings to malevolent forces. And yeah, it's mainly the first two. And then making offerings and supplicating the Dharma. But, and then the integrated practice. So how to integrate all practices. Yeah. Here. So yeah, so the third is transforming adverse circumstances into the path. Basically by using everything we experience to think how, that's another thing I didn't mention when thinking about all this, when we have suffering experiences, to think, oh, this is purifying my negative karma. My negative karma is being exhausted by experiencing this and thereby enjoy it. Think how wonderful that, especially when we're deliberately practicing purification practice, then, negative karma that could result in throwing us into rebirth in hell or as an animal or hungry ghost, and it could result in a very heavy experience over a long time. It can ripen in shorter forms as a headache or feeling sick or, having an accident or something. So when we have those kind of, smaller sufferings, we can think, oh, how wonderful is the negative karma, ripening so that I won't have to experience it in the future. Then the integrated practice of a single lifetime is, the five powers, which are the power of propelling intention, basically generating bodhicitta, the power of acquaintance, habituating oneself to that again and again, the power of the positive seed, accumulating virtuous karma, the power of eradication, eliminating negative karma, and the power of aspirational prayers, making strong prayers. In the future, may this and this come about. That's why we always make dedication prayers. And then the fifth, the measure of having trained the mind, integrate all the teachings into one thought. The thought of overcoming self-grasping and generating, altruism, basically, and so forth. And then this is where we are. I think we finished that last week. So integrate all the teachings into one thought. Primary importance should be given to the two witnesses. What are the two witnesses? You remember? What are the two witnesses? I think Sam, you have it, Sam? I can see Sam asking Kelly, is it this? You remember the two witnesses?
Others and self.
What's Dan? Can you say that again?
Others and self.
Exactly. The witness of others and the witness of self. And of which of those two, which is more important?
Is that a question to me?
Yes.
Well, others, I would imagine.
No, the witness of self.
Oh, witness of self. Oh, of course, because we know for sure what's in our mind, not others yeah, that's right. That's what you said.
Exactly. Yeah. Others might see some external thing we're doing and think, oh, it's such a good person. But we know really like what our actual motivation is. So
right. Yes.
The main witness is ourselves. Exactly.
I got that one right.
You did, Sam? Come on, but you didn't say it. Next time you have to speak up.
I didn't have the mic on. I messed up.
Okay. Okay. I'll make sure to give you're going to get another chance. So stay on your toes.
Okay. Better leave that on.
Okay. So where are we? Oh, the primary importance should be given to the two witnesses. Constantly cultivate only a peaceful mind or a joyful mind. Actually, I prefer that translation. Constantly cultivate a joyful mind. I mean, how nice, That should be part of the practice. Sometimes I think when we're practicing Dharma, we get too heavy, too serious about it. It should be something we feel joyful about and have joyful enthusiasm about. We should enjoy. That's one of my favorite things about Lama Zopa Rinpoche. I think of all my teachers, maybe except for His Holiness, but I wasn't around His Holiness the Dalai Lama so much, but always joking, always making jokes. He always made everything like so fun. Sometimes Rinpoche would be very serious, very heavy, even sometimes for a whole day or a few days. But then it makes, like, when he makes a joke, it makes it so much nicer. It's like, they always like, so fun to be around Rinpoche. And His Holiness too, His Holiness always, makes Dharma so enjoyable. He really, like when the tea comes and the bread, he offer it. And then he always shows the aspect of enjoying the tea, the bread, joking with people all around. And always makes it so nice, So we should be like that too with ourselves, not beat ourselves up. Oh, I'm so bad. I'm so like, I don't remember this. I don't do this. I don't do this. That's not the right way to be. We should, yes, when we make mistakes and we're just being lazy and kind of being foolish, yes, recognize that and kind of, it's okay to criticize ourselves a little bit sometimes, but also recognize, when we do things well, we're trying our best and be happy about, the effort that we're making. So constantly cultivate only a peaceful mind or a joyful mind. The measure of a trained mind is that it has turned away from selfishness, right? And, trying to benefit others all the time. And there are 5 great marks of a trained mind. I won't go over again. The trained mind retains control even when distracted. So that's really the mark, that whatever you're doing, you remember this kind of training in compassion, training in bodhicitta, training in, aspiring to practice Dharma better, aspiring to use one's life to not harm, to benefit others all the time. Okay, so now the commitments of mind training. So this is new, right? So this 2 lists. There's 18 commitments, and then the precepts, there are 22 precepts. So I have to go through these a bit quickly. So the commitments of mind training. Don't go against the mind training you promise to observe. Right? So it's like looking at mind training as like something that, and of course, by taking this course, you don't have to, it's not assumed you promise this, but if this is something you want to seriously practice, then it's looking at it like you should kind of make a commitment to yourself. It's not something you promise to others. It's something you promise to yourself. Okay, I'm going to practice mind training, and then really try to keep that, uphold that. So don't go against that, right? So don't go against the mind training you promise to observe. Don't be reckless in your practice, right? Don't be, okay, make a promise to practice mind training, but then not really be mindful, not really be careful in how you act or heedful, that you just kind of do things without thinking about. But don't be like that. Like if you, I don't know, like recently I was with a friend who's a longtime student of Dharma. I was so surprised. And a mosquito came and bit his arm and he just go, I was so shocked. Like, are you serious? You've been practicing Dharma for this long and you just kill a mosquito like without thinking twice? Like, that's reckless. Recklessness is like that. Or you just say things, get irritated and just say things to people without really considering how it's going to affect them. Like we all make mistakes, but we need to recognize that and be careful how we do things. Another example will come up just below of that. Don't be partial. Always train in the 3 general points. So don't be partial means like don't be biased. And the 3 general points are the first of the 3. And so I'm taking all this right again from this text, the page 130, the Mind Training, the Great Collection, right? This text which I showed you before. There's a commentary in here. Yeah, there it is. Oh, look, train in 3 general points. Anyway, there they are. That's where I got it from. Your mind training should not contradict your pledges. So whatever vows you've taken, like if you've taken refuge and the refuge vows to not kill, not steal, not lie, then your mind training shouldn't go against those. It support you keeping your vows. Your mind training should not become offensive. You shouldn't practice, in a way that somehow is, offensive to other people. Yeah, I'm not sure what's an example of this, but, you could imagine like if you're around, I don't know, friends who have totally different views, and then you speak about your own practice in a way that they find, disturbing or something. Yeah, I'm not sure. It's a bit, but anyway, you shouldn't act in some way that's offensive to others. Always be considerate to others. Part of mind training is, part of not harming others is not treating others in a way that they're comfortable with. You're what? Yeah, like if you're bragging, yeah, spiritual bragging. That's a good example. If you're bragging about your mind training practice in a way that other people feel like, what is this person going on about? Your mind training should not be biased, right? Where you practice mind training well in relation to the people you like, but people you don't like, it's like you couldn't care less. Let's see, actually, what does it say? The second point entails discarding such obnoxious behavior, as says, as sleeping in harmful places, felling harmful trees, visiting areas where you may contract contagious diseases. Oh yeah, so this is one, like you could imagine, oh, I'm practicing mind training, so I take on the suffering of others. So I'm just gonna go hang out with people who have COVID, And then I don't care if I get COVID, I'm just gonna take it on in my self-cherishing mind. But then you infect everyone in your family with COVID or something, right? And your grandparents die, right? So don't, be considerate of others. Don't be like, oh, I'm practicing mind training, so I'm just gonna, I don't know, be really, practice some kind of severe asceticism in a way that makes other people concerned and stuff. And associating with people who are degenerate in their commitments, with lepers or possessed by spirits or so. I don't, this is a bit of a Tibetan trip. Yeah, I know, luckily we don't have to worry about lepers. Okay, so those are and then your mind should not be biased. I think that's obvious. Then 4, transform your attitude, but maintain your natural behavior. I spoke about this last week, right? So Sam, this is your chance to shine. What does it mean to transform? I'll show you again. Transform your attitude, but maintain your natural behavior. I think you're an expert in this, Sam. Just know.
Oh, no. Wow. Um, wow. That's
But can you say that one more time? Read it one more time.
Transform your, yeah. Transform, and if you can't answer, it's okay, Sam. No, I don't want to.
no, it really
Transform your
speaks to me.
attitude. Transform your attitude, but maintain your natural behavior, right? And one hint is think about your attitude is internal,
Mm-hmm.
behavior is external, right?
Right. For some reason, I feel like it's still tied into what we were just saying about like bragging. Like I don't appreciate that in others, and I'm sensitive to not wanting to do that around others about
Yeah, and then expand on bragging is like when you speak mostly, right?
Mm-hmm.
There are other ways of kind of showing off.
Yeah. Um yeah, well, how about like when I was younger, I used to dress like I was in show business or something.
Mhm.
Um, like I really went out of my way to try to look like, I was on a show in Broadway or something because I lived in New York City. But I don't feel the desire to be like that anymore.
Yeah. And so in the context of like practicing like Buddhism, like Tibetan Buddhism,
Right.
what would be like similar to that? Kind of dressing up like, you know?
Well, like I love what I do here at Vajrapani because I get my hands dirty and I try to make the natural beauty shine more. And it's so but it's not about me, and I don't mind getting really dirty doing the work. I'm
Mhm.
not like looking for the newest machine always to make it cleaner or whatever. If I want to have it done, I'm passionate about doing it, and if I get dirty or sore, it's okay.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. It's like that. No, like, what does it say? Transforming your attitude, but maintain your natural behavior.
Right. Um, yeah.
I think there's a certain amount of authenticity that comes through when you're just yourself
Mhm.
and not trying to be anything else.
Yeah, in one way, just try to be yourself. Don't try to act like, oh, I'm a Dharma practitioner. I'm like,
Right, right.
and also like, don't have to wear any like special clothes, like, start wearing Tibetan clothes. Sometimes, lamas give example like that. People from the West start wearing, I mean, I'm not one to speak, right? But start wearing, like, I don't know, all kinds of Tibetan like clothes and stuff like kind of is like, yeah, kind of look, I mean, it depends on the motivation. Not that that's inherently bad, but yeah, we should not act like, put on a pretense of being like a Dharma practitioner, like wear a mala around your wrist, so everyone can see, or not that that's, no, it's not that that you can't do that, but if it's with that kind of attitude, like, oh, people will know I'm like this. No. Actually, I usually wear my mala around my belt, but I lose it a lot, And then I said to one friend lately, I lose my mala all the time. And they're like, yeah, you should wear it around your wrist, then you won't lose it. Yeah, yeah. Also for monastics, yeah, it's considered kind of like true. But I don't know, but Lama Zopa Rinpoche would always wear a mala around his wrist. Many lamas do, so. Yeah, anyway. Okay. Yes.
Is the transformation of your attitude more about your afflictive emotions? I
No,
That's what I thought.
it's
It was
eliminating your afflictive emotions and then generating in their place kindness, compassion, bodhicitta.
right.
Yeah.
From my notes from last week, it was more about like transform the adverse circumstances by placing, I don't know if this is blame, but understanding that it's the afflictive emotion that's causing uh, whatever circumstance you are meeting.
Yeah, that's kind of the essence of, I mean, the method of transforming your attitude in Tonglen is, I mean, in mind training is when every suffering experience you see, it's arising from your afflictive emotions, blame those, thereby eliminate those, and then in their place give rise to compassion and, wisdom, understanding, dependent arising.
But is that what number 4 is talking about or not?
Yeah. Well, I mean, all those things. Transform your attitude is very broad. Transform your attitude, but maintain your natural behavior, your external behavior. Just act naturally, in relation to others.
Got it.
Okay. Then don't speak of others' incomplete qualities. Means don't find fault with others. Like, don't speak about others' faults for no good reason. Yeah. Oh, Joe has a question. Okay. Yes, Joe?
Yes, it's about the not changing your natural behavior. I think when you talked about lamas wearing malas, they it's not for show, is it? It's for a purpose. So always to remind them of well, they can meditate anytime, anywhere, if they've got that. So maybe it's a purpose.
Yeah.
And I know that I could see that Bay has bought all the malas in the shop. So if there are none there, Bay has them all.
Yeah. 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 If it's for a specific purpose, then of course it's fine. I have to check the motivation. Yes. Okay. Then 6, don't concern yourself with others' business. Like, don't be nosy. Don't always be thinking about what others are doing. Primarily think about what you're doing. I mean, and what's your own actions, your own mind. Primarily, that should be our concern, not so much others' business. Train to counter whichever disturbing emotion is greatest. Yeah, this is excellent advice. When we think about the antidotes to the different afflictive emotions, then, there's so many, right? Then which one should we focus on? Whichever is the greatest for us. So for us, the afflictive emotion that, whether it's jealousy or low self-esteem or, anger or whatever, whichever emotion is greatest, means it arises when it arises most strongly, or is the most problematic, or arises most frequently, and so forth. So it's so important to identify which, and in different times in our life, it can be different, but which emotions, afflictive emotions, are arising most strongly, and then focus on reducing that one, countering that one. So train to counter whichever disturbing emotion is greatest. And then give up every hope of reward. Don't practice expecting like praise from our teacher. You see that so often around Lama Zopa Rinpoche, you see that a lot. But yeah, it can come up, people kind of a bit childish, then even in our own mind, it come up. And I've seen it in my experience when when you're around the teacher or around your other Dharma friends, try to act like, really like, oh, I'm perfect. And it kind of expecting other people to recognize that or praise you or be impressed or some other kind of reward. So give up hope of, getting anything in return for your practice. You just practice for the sake of that itself, for your own sake, for your own long-term benefit. And then avoid poisonous food. Here, poisonous food means self-interest and self-grasping, right? Yeah, so avoid, selfish concern, self-interest, and the ignorance grasping at itself in the depths of one's heart. So be aware, that the seeds of those and the imprints of those are in the depths of one's heart, and try as much as you can not to follow them. Yes, those impulses, they don't go away easily, even in one life, right? They come up again and again and again, but try not to follow that as much as you can. Following this kind of selfish interest and self-grasping is like poisonous food. It's like eating poisonous food. It's going to give us problems in the future, give us suffering in the future. Don't maintain misplaced loyalty. This one's quite tricky. I had to read the commentary on this several times before I got it. It means don't be loyal to those who act unjustly or harmfully by not showing disapproval when it would be beneficial. Means, because this question comes up all the time in relation to compassion. Because oftentimes people get the wrong idea that having compassion for others means just approving whatever they do. It means you can't disapprove or criticize anybody else's actions. But that's not the case. That's exactly what it's saying here. Misplaced loyalty would be like, when you see others are doing something completely unjust, that's harmful to them, harmful to others, that's completely wrong, taking advantage of others, they're lying or cheating others, and you're in a position where you could do something about it. You could call them out on it. You could show opposition to that. You could show your disapproval and that you see that that's wrong and why, but you don't. Because you think, oh, I'm practicing mind training, so I should just leave it. I shouldn't say anything about it. That's what is called misplaced loyalty here. It's very interesting, no? Because that question, when it comes up, I often find a difficult time finding a clear advice related to that question in Dharma, but this is the most clear place. But the phrase isn't clear, right? Don't maintain misplaced loyalty. What does it mean? Meaning, don't be loyal, means loyal like approving. Don't approve of those who act unjustly, right? So what does it mean by being those who act unjustly or harmfully? What does it mean by being loyal to them? It would mean like kind of implicitly showing approval of that by, in a way, like not doing anything. Like if it's a friend and then they're doing something really deeply wrong, like think of the friends of Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein, it happened on like a mass scale. Think of that book that just came out this birthday. It's like on a mass scale, so many friends, they know he's doing something like really harmful to people, but they just show implicitly or explicitly show like approval of that. That's a kind of showing being loyal to a friend despite them they're doing something very harmful. That's a misplaced loyalty. I think that's a good example. Meaning, don't be loyal to those who act unjustly or harmfully by not showing disapproval. When disapproval should be shown, you don't show disapproval. So that's very clear. Practicing compassion, practicing bodhicitta, practicing mind training, practicing Dharma in relation to others, kindness in relation to others, is not just approving of their harmful actions. Even though they're your family, your friends, people you care about, and we should care about all sentient beings, when we see they're doing something very harmful to others, which in the long term is going to be harmful to themselves, then by like showing loyalty, by like showing approval of implicit approval of that, that's not dharma. No, dharma is like, you know, calling them out for their benefit with the attitude of caring about them, also caring about others, you know, calling them out on it. No, so showing disapproval, right? Showing disapproval. So by not showing disapproval when it would be beneficial. So when it would be beneficial to others, the victims or the perpetrators of harm, to show disapproval, then you don't. Then that's a mistake in mind training. That's very clear there. I mean, the phrase itself is not clear, but the explanation, which I took from that commentary, is very clear. So yes, Fred, you have a comment or question?
Yeah, I understand, I get it. It's a tricky one though in a way because correcting others can make you self-righteous, can make you judgmental, can be an exercise in your own ego
Yeah.
and affliction, right? So
Mm.
it's not carte blanche to correcting other people.
But what does it say before? Remember 5 and 6 above?
Right. Right.
So between those two, you kind of find a middle way, right?
Right.
5, don't speak of others' incomplete qualities. 6, don't concern yourself with others' business. On the face of it, it looks contradictory. Don't concern yourself with others' business. But then here, don't maintain misplaced loyalty to others. So there's kind of, we have to, it's very nuanced, no? Have to find a middle way between
Well,
those.
yeah. And the next one, because I could be really
And
sarcastic.
don't make sarcastic
Yeah,
remarks.
that would be me.
Yeah.
So I'm a wise guy.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Don't make sarcastic remarks. Well, it means when you disagree with someone, just disagree genuinely and straightforwardly. You don't have to be like kind of, saying something that on the face of it looks nice, but actually it's like a criticism. That's what sarcasm is basically, right? Be genuine. I mean, sarcasm is always a bit like disingenuous. Like you say something that is like sweet words, but actually it's like a sharp, a jabbing kind of criticism. So don't be like that. Don't be kind of duplicitous. Just be genuine. If you disagree, disagree. If you don't like it, just say you don't like it. No? Like, yeah. Actually, I found living with Tibetans very helpful that way. Tibetans are I think it's partly because, their culture, they're just like much more connected with the earth, the elements. Until 1959, almost every Tibetan was either a farmer or a nomad. That's what they ask each other. No, they usually ask me that even, "Keren Xingbayana, Dropayin?" No, there's so many times they ask you, "Are there nomads in America?" So many Tibetans ask me that because they're nomads. They're born to parents who are raising like yaks and goats and like animals on the plains. Like in Tibet, you're either, a Drokpa, a nomad, or you're a Shingpa. You have farm or you're something in between. You have some fields, but you also have livestock that you raise. Everybody's like that. So because of, I think, that pastoral kind of culture, you can't afford to be like, intellectual and all like fancy ideas and kind of double speak. Like, I think part of that in Western culture, at least in American culture, I can say, comes about because it's like you see who are the really sarcastic people. It's like the more educated people are, the more prone they are to be sarcastic because they have that ability to be like, oh, this can mean this or this. So I'll just, I know personally because I've been like this a lot. So then, whereas like, Tibetans, they're just like, it's just, there's no double meanings. It's just like that. Because you can imagine if you're outside working all day, you see, and even America, like I have relatives that are farmers, they're not sarcastic much. No, they're quite direct because like there's no time and energy to be like duplicitous. You just got to say what needs to be said, like, and it's done. And people don't know resentment, no hard feelings. Just like, yeah, it's so helpful when people direct like that. Simple, yeah. Okay. Maybe let's cover the rest of these first. Let's just finish this section and then we can ask questions about any of them. So don't forget. Okay. Don't maintain misplaced loyalty. Don't make sarcastic remarks. Yeah. Don't lie in ambush. This means like waiting for an opportunity to take revenge. Like if someone put you down or belittled you somehow, then you're waiting for an opportunity to get back at them, to take your revenge. Don't wait for an opportunity to take revenge on others. So don't wait in ambush. don't strike at the vital point. Or, you know, another translation is don't strike at the heart, meaning don't criticize or embarrass people in the way that they feel deeply hurt. So it's like the more you get to know other people, part of that is especially like in terms of family or, you know, romantic relationship, people you become very close to, then part of that, you know, people let you into their personal lives is that then you know what you could say or do that would be really hurtful to them. But so don't take advantage of that understanding, that knowledge. Don't say things to people or do things that are really going to deeply hurt people, right? That's what it's saying. So don't strike at the vital point. Don't burden an ox with the load of a zo. So this is, I told you, Tibetans are nomads. This is nomad culture. What does that mean? Can any of you tell me? You know, don't burden the ox with, I mean, actually it's not that difficult. Like you could replace donkey and horse there, you know, but a zo, an ox is quite strong. A zo is a mix of like and here ox, you know, ox is like very strong. A zo is like a mix of a yak and a cow. It's not as strong, but it means don't shift rightly earned blame from oneself to others. So imagine there's a smaller animal like a donkey that has, well, a donkey can only carry a smaller load, and then there's an ox who can carry a big load, and you take the big load and shift it to the donkey, right? But that's not fair, right? So but here it's a bit different. It's like when you've done something, you made some mistake, and you are to blame. Don't put the blame on others, right? Take responsibility yourself. So it means don't shift rightly earned blame from oneself to others. So if you made say you're working together, you know, with others, and you made some mistake, and as a result, you know, all of you kind of look bad, don't blame it on the others. Take the blame, you know, yourself. Don't shift the burden from yourself to others. That's what it means. Don't abuse the practice. So this one, don't use this practice for worldly purposes, like just to expel demons or show off and so forth. So don't use a mind training practice to like show off and kind of, you know, make a good reputation for yourself or something. Yeah. I mean, it says there in the commentary, because this is more like Tibetan culture, don't use this practice for worldly purposes like to expel demons. So, I mean, that's not, most of us, it's not an issue. But don't use it in an incorrect way. Or, yeah, for worldly purposes. Don't sprint to win the race. And this is quite literally, like if you're in a, like, you know, like we have the potluck here at Chokra Simling sometimes, and then there's a whole spread of food on the table. Sorry, Ocean of Compassion Center. I have this subliminal like mix up. Ocean of Compassion Center, we have a potluck, or you're at a buffet or something with a group of people, and everyone's going to share the food. Don't try to be the first one in line so you can get like what you want and as much of it as you want, right? That'd be selfish. Also, like at Dharma teachings, what was I thinking in relation to this other one above? At Dharma teachings, like sometimes you see it's so unfortunate at like, especially His Holiness teachings in the past when there's a huge crowd of people and there's limited seats, and they say, oh, you can put your seat down at this time, like the day before, and then people just rush in and are like fighting with each other. Really, it's like some people also from some nations, I won't mention which, but they'll even like tear up other, you know, someone tapes their seat down with their name, other people even like tear it up and just throw it to the side and put theirs down instead. Or it happens so much. It's like people really like, it's like all their Dharma practice goes out the door, and this just totally selfish mind. I want to see the Dalai Lama. I want to be closer. I want to be, you know, this seat and that seat. That's really like sprinting to win the race. So it means that like, don't always rush or act ignobly, right? Act coarsely to get the best of things shared in common for oneself, right? Like a buffet line or seats on a bus and so forth, right? So always think of others, like always, even especially when there's a temptation to like, you know, try to get the best for yourself. That time, then renounce that selfish attitude. Offer to others. Okay. Don't sprint away. Don't turn gods into devils. So this one, what is it? Don't let your mind training practice have an inverse effect, such that it inflates your pride, your self-conceit, or other afflictive emotions. So yeah, don't let your mind training practice, your Dharma practice, become a cause for your arrogance and pride and self-conceit. It's such helpful advice. And you see this. I mean, this is not like this doesn't happen. You see this happen now. And then don't seek others' misery as a means to happiness. I mean, this is a really lowly mind. But you know, sometimes there's a danger for all of us. You know, you see there's some like politician you really don't like and you really wish ill upon them. And then when ill befalls them, you rejoice in that. So we shouldn't think like that, no. Don't seek others' misery. Don't wish misery upon others as a means to your happiness. That's a totally corrupted kind of attitude, you know, like an ingrown toenail. Okay, if there's any, well, you know, gosh, we only have 30 minutes left. Any quick questions specifically about, you know, the words of any of those, I'll answer, but otherwise we really need to go down. No, okay. Okay, then let's continue. I'm not sure we're going to get to 8 verses of mind training or not, because that would take a half hour itself. Okay, so the 7 precepts of mind training. So this is the last of the 7 points, the last section. The precepts of mind training. Every yoga should be performed as one. So what it's saying here is like, you know, like you see in Buddhism, there's so many different kinds of yogas, so many different kinds of practices, essentially. You know, in some, you do some practice, you should eat some kind of food or not other side of kind of food. Some you should do some physical exercises, or you should read this text or read that text, or say this mantra, or say that mantra. So it's saying all of these yogas, you can practice, just focus on one thing. Practice bodhicitta, right, and tonglen. You can, you know, all the other Dharma practices, you can condense into just that. Practice the mind, you know, the attitude of bodhicitta, and all the, you know, all the precepts of mind training that arise from that attitude, together with tonglen. So that's what it's saying. Don't make things complex. Just simplify things into, you know, may I achieve enlightenment in order to free all sentient beings from suffering, and may I relate every, you know, every experience I have to that practice with tonglen. All errors are to be amended by one means or overcome by one means, meaning use tonglen to reduce all mistaken ideas such that mind training is causing oneself more suffering and obstacles. Instead, take the obstacles of others onto oneself. So all errors, I mean, there's different errors, but one of the main ones is talking about is this idea that thinking, oh, you know, like we have this experience when we start meditating and then feel like we're becoming more distracted just because we're noticing this distraction more. Or we start, you know, believing in past and future lives and start worrying more about, oh no, what did I do in my past life? And what's going to happen to me in my next life? Or we start believing in karma, the law of cause and effect, and then become like, oh, so worried about every little thing we do and say, no? So, and then that can lead to, you know, in an extreme case, us like giving up Dharma practice because we feel like Dharma practice is causing me to suffer more. But that's by looking at it in a wrong way, you know, and practicing in a wrong way. So, and this can be the same with tonglen. By practicing tonglen, so it's saying use tonglen to eliminate those kind of wrong ideas that arise. So instead of thinking, oh, Dharma is making my life more miserable, then think, oh, look at all the suffering others experience, may it ripen on me, and may I blame it on the self-cherishing and ignorance. And then thereby be free from that. So try to use Dharma practice and use the suffering we perceive in others to be free from our causes of our suffering. So all errors are to be amended or overcome by one means, by tonglen, right, is the means. There are 2 activities at the beginning and at the end. So this is talking about a motivation at the beginning, you know, like at the beginning of the day, generate a positive motivation. At the end of the day, dedicate. Just like we do in every session. At the beginning, generate a positive motivation. At the end, dedicate. Whichever occurs, be patient with both. So whether, you know, when we have good fortune and things are going really well, don't become all conceited and overblown about it. No, all like, you know, unrealistically kind of excited about that. Kind of be, you know, take it in stride. Take it with a calm and balanced mind. And then when things are not going well, don't be completely disheartened and down and hard on ourselves. also just, take it in stride and integrate it into the practice of Tonglen, like we're doing with the meditation at the beginning of the session today. So whichever occurs, whether it's good or bad, be patient with both. Be balanced with both. Guard both at the cost of your life. And here means the precepts of the general teaching and the precepts of mind training. So it's saying, these are talking about the vows. When we take vows and commitments, like if we take refuge, the refuge precepts, if we take bodhisattva vows, the bodhisattva vows, both the general vows of the general teachings, and then also the specific precepts of mind training, cherish them like your own life. Take care of them. Be cautious. Guard them like you would your eyes. Yeah. And then train in the 3 difficulties. So the difficulties of, so initially, so this is very, very pertinent to daily life. Initially, there's the difficulty of remembering the antidotes when afflictions arise, when we get angry, irritated, when we feel unhappy, when we have, craving, desire arise, then it's difficult to remember the antidotes, right? So try to remember the antidotes when afflictions arise. In the middle, opposing afflictions and overpowering them with the antidotes, right? When afflictive emotions arise, it's difficult to apply the antidotes first of all, it's just difficult just to remember the antidotes. Then it's difficult to generate them strongly enough that we can, keep the afflictions under control and reduce them and overcome our afflictive emotions. And then in the end, it's difficult to eradicate the continuum of the afflictive emotions, right? So to eradicate even the possibility of them arising again. So it's saying train in those things. It's recognizing this is difficult. It's not easy. We have to be like a warrior, no? When we see an enemy attacking us, then draw the sword and attack back. No, don't be just kind of meek and passive. You have to train in these difficult things of opposing our afflictive emotions, right? Seek for the 3 principal causes. Okay, all these. Okay, let me just explain this, Kelly, and then I'll come back to you. Or adopt the 3 principal causes. So 1, correct reliance on a qualified guru. So correctly rely upon a teacher, no? And then 2, one's mind filled with realizations of the Lama instructed by one's teacher. So generate, realizations of the entire, all the topics of the Lam Rim. And then 3, having favorable inner and outer conditions. So favorable inner conditions, having faith, having confidence that you can practice, having some mental focus. So try to generate, the favorable conditions. And then external conditions by being around supportive friends, having enough sleep, being, exercise, eating healthy food, all these, different aspects of one's life. So those are the 3 principal causes, right? Relying upon a qualified teacher and then correctly relying upon them. And then, contemplating all the topics of the Lam Rim. And then, having a positive attitude and faith, and also taking care of yourself and sleeping enough, eating well, taking a vacation when you need a vacation, and exercising and so forth. So those are the 3 principal causes. Okay, Kelly?
Sorry, it was a question way back, but I think it's okay now.
Okay,
It was another subject. It's fine.
okay. We can always chat about tomorrow over lunch. Actually, Kelly, I think I won't come to lunch tomorrow. Make it easy. Okay. Because, I just got some lunch for tomorrow. Okay, then 8. Don't let 3 factors weaken. Okay, another list of 3. You have a lot to memorize here. You have to memorize all this before the self-assessment. No, I'll send this to you. I think when I print this as a PDF, I think it'll show up. I'll check. I know. Yeah. Yeah. Because I didn't, I sent you links to 2 other commentaries, one by Alexander Berzin and one by Tome Zampo. I'm not sure it lists these. And they might have alternate explanations too. This is just one commentary. But I'll make a PDF of this and then seeing your teachers Okay, so the 3 factors, don't let the 3 factors weaken. Seeing your teacher as a Buddha. So, correctly practicing Guru devotion, part of that is seeing your teachers as Buddhas, as enlightened beings, right? Only seeing positive qualities, not seeing faults. Seeing the mind training as the essence of the Mahayana, right? Yeah, so seeing the mind training as being, the condensation of the essential points of practice of the Mahayana. And then keeping your vows and pledges unstained by infractions by having embarrassment and conscientiousness, being mindful to not transgress the vows and pledges in general, like of refuge or bodhisattva vows, or of the mind training. These are the 3 factors. Not let those weaken. Never be parted, and don't, I don't expect you, don't feel like now that you've heard this, you have to practice all of this. We try, I mean, it's been probably 25 years since I first heard this, and, I still am trying. We try from life to life. Think long term, not just this life. Don't let 3 factors weaken. Never be parted from the 3 possessions. So the 3 possessions are virtuous actions of your body, your speech, and your mind, right? Those are our most valuable possessions, our virtuous actions of body, speech, and mind, because they bring us happiness immediately, and they also bring us happiness in future lives. All of our other worldly possessions will be parted from them when we die. The virtuous actions of body, speech, and mind, we create karma, and that will benefit us from life to life in a way, no other possessions, even friends and family can't. Then 10, train consistently without partiality. So again, don't be biased. Train consistently in relation to all beings, steadily, consistently, and without bias towards those we like, against those we don't like. Yeah, I'm not sure. It's an interesting question. Like, how does that differ from this one above that was about being impartial? Don't be partial there. It seems to be the same thing. Maybe it is. I'm not sure. 11, value in encompassing and far-reaching practice. So yeah, like I was just saying, don't practice like one thing narrowly. Kind of practice, try to remember all the different things explained there, and don't think, oh, I have to do this immediately or else I'm a total failure. Like, be patient with yourself, be kind to yourself, and have a far-reaching. Don't be lazy, but also, practice in a way that's steadily, not like whipping yourself, but like encouraging yourself. Okay, I'll try to do every day. I'll try to do a little better, but recognizing it's a long-term project with a far-reaching attitude. Look far ahead. Train consistently to deal with difficult situations. So it means, really cherish the little hardships that come. When you have a little headache, okay, it's an opportunity to practice patience. When you feel a little tired, and you still have to keep going, it's an opportunity. And when someone's doing something a little bit irritating, cherish that as an opportunity. Okay, this is an opportunity for me to practice patience and a little forbearance and bearing some hardship in order that I can, bear more hardships in the future. I can build up the armor of, the strength of my courage and patience and tolerance. I really saw that. Like sometimes, I think I was just thinking today in driving here in the car, it's still kind of, never cease to amaze me, like how many nice cars you see around. Like, I think I've never lived in a place in the world where, per capita, the amount of like Mercedes, BMWs, Tesla, I don't even really associate. I don't have a stigma because they're really expensive. Okay, Teslas, yeah, and then Jaguars, even Lexus, Acuras. I mean, I'm also driving a really nice car. Like, I've never been where I grew up. It was not like that. It was a lot of Fords and Chevys. But and then I remember, just last year, I was, when I went to town, when I would go to the dentist, I'd have to first walk 20 minutes, then get an auto rickshaw to the bus stand, then wait in this noisy bus stand. One time I sent Geshe Namdak a recording of me in the bus stand because it's just like, Hunzur bus stand. There's probably at any given time, there's 200-300 people, all talking with their family or their friends under a metal sheet roof, big, and it's just like a roar. And then buses coming and going. And and then you get on the bus and it's a bench seat, 3 people on a bench seat, squeezed next to each other. You can't not touch each other, right? People in America don't have to deal with that. You're sitting in your plush seat. You're the only one in the car. Your temperature control. Like outside it's hot, just roll up the window, like even have it tinted so no one can even see you if you're not looking quite as good as you want. No, it's so comfortable, no? And I think like I remember when I first went to India and I was like, yeah, those little hardships of, okay, you have to sit next to someone and then they fall asleep and they're leaning on your shoulder. It's like, what do you do? It's like, okay, I just have to accept this, this sweaty Indian farmer is like sleeping on my shoulder, like, and they smell all like, I don't know, coconut oil and something like, okay, and cow dung or something. It's like, okay. But then, you can see people who first come, they can't deal. They're like, oh no, oh no. Like you see the foreigners come, they're on the big tour buses, all air conditioned bus, and then they get off and they're like, oh no, look at the power lines. There's so many power lines we ever. Oh no, look at that dog. Ooh. It's like, but the little hardships you really have to cherish because it builds up like tolerance. So people in India have so much tolerance. It's amazing, so much patience. They endure like such incredible hardship with just like with such grace and dignity. Like people in the West have no idea, like, what it's like to bear hardship. But when we do have opportunity, that's a gross statement because we have a different kind of hardship with education and like all the sarcasm, all the that's a different kind of hardship, no? Yeah, the passive aggressive behavior, all the politics in like corporate, office structure is like all the other, family dynamics, so complicated, so many dysfunctional families, is like, yeah, people, it's a different, but all those kind of hardships, anyway, take into your practice. Okay, yes, Joe.
I'm wondering if we can if there's a kind of a rule here. The nicer someone's car, the more they're suffering. What do you think?
I don't think so. No. I don't think so. Not a rule. Yeah. Yeah. But you really can't tell. I know I had a cousin who worked, she's still working actually. She's worked like 50 years in the local bank in Iowa. And I asked her, once, because she worked so long in a bank, she knows all the customers, like by name, and also knows what's in their accounts, right? I asked her once, like, what's the biggest lesson you learned working in a bank so many years? She told me, like, biggest lesson I learned is by the way people look, you have no idea what their financial situation. Some people, you think they have a nice car, they dress well, they're totally in debt. Some people, they look like they have nothing, they're wealthy. Like, you have no idea. So, yeah, in regard to people's cars, like, you really can't tell. Yeah. Okay, train consistently to deal with difficult situations. Don't rely on other conditions. Means don't rely on external conditions to sustain your practice. Don't rely on other people, encouraging you. Be kind of an island unto yourself. And don't rely on, it's like also, don't have this attitude, think, oh, I'll practice Dharma when I have more time, when I can retire, when I'm in this place, or once I get this kind of teaching. Like, practice right now. We could die tomorrow. We don't know. We need to practice like immediately. You don't wait for other conditions to come together before we practice. Like, practice now. Engage in the principal practices right now. Yeah, and this similar related. Don't apply a wrong understanding. Okay, so there's a list of 6 here according to this author. Don't have misplaced forbearance. Like, don't be patient with, your own anger. Be impatient with your own anger or your own afflictive emotions. Don't make misplaced aspirations. Don't aspire to things that are not good to aspire to. Like, don't aspire to have more money or more fame or, worldly things. Misplaced savoring. Don't savor means have attachment for things that are not ultimately going to give you satisfaction. Like, don't spend a lot of time savoring after, wanting to go to this place or wanting to see this movie or wanting to have this food. Like, okay, we can enjoy those things, but it's not that going to benefit us that much. Rather, savor the taste of Dharma, right? The experience we have from learning, contemplating, meditating. Savor that. Those things that are long-term beneficial. Misplaced compassion. Don't have, what is this one? Compassion. Yeah, I don't remember. example offhand. Misplaced dedication. Yeah, don't make prayers for worldly things. And misplaced rejoicing. Like don't rejoice in the misfortune of others. Or rejoice in your own like kind of yeah, mainly that misplaced rejoicing, mainly rejoicing in misfortune of others, like that. Anyway, there are all those different wrong understandings. Don't be sporadic, meaning sporadic means just occasionally. Like you practice like for a while and then just leave it. And then, again, practice a little while and then just leave it. Be like, like a big river flowing steadily, continually, like a river flowing, just slow and steady practice. Don't not like a rabbit running, like jump and then just and jump, or like a frog. Don't be sporadic like that. Practice unflinchingly. Don't let anything like deter you, right? Even a little hardships arise, a little setbacks arise. Don't let that deter you. Be kind of courageous and strong and keep going. And then release investigation and analysis. I think it means like don't overthink things. Let me just check what it says here. Find this quickly. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, here. First, investigate which affliction is most dominant in your mind. We already talked about that. And earnestly apply specific antidotes, striving hard to subdue it. Then analyze the deluded. Oh no, so see here the translation is completely different. Be released through the two, investigation and close analysis. What's the other? Release so this is like, this sounds like it's you get rid of investigation analysis. That's totally wrong. So that one, yeah, that one I'm gonna highlight. I'll go back to it 1 second. I just wanna. So the alternate translate, the better translation is be released through the two, investigation and close analysis. So use investigation and analysis. Investigate which affliction is most dominant in your mind. And then analyze the way deluded mental projections arise in relation to the objects as their basis. So analyze how your own afflictive emotions arise in relation to certain objects that trigger you, right? So understand, investigate which afflictions are troubling the most, and then analyze how do they arise in relation to what triggers and what objects, and how can I apply antidotes. And then don't be boastful. Don't be short-tempered. Don't make a short-lived attempt. So don't just try for a little while and give up. Keep trying, no? And then don't expect gratitude. Don't expect other people to thank you for practicing mind training, and be grateful. Just do it for its own reward itself. Okay, so that's, then I'll just read the rest just to finish. This is concluded with a quotation from Geshe Chokawa, who had an experience of the awakening mind. So Geshe Chokawa finishes, my manifold aspirations. Oh, actually, okay, I'll read this translation and then the other one. My manifold aspirations have given rise to humiliating criticism and suffering. But having received instructions for taming the misconceptions of self, even if I have to die, I have no regrets. But actually, there's this other translation here. I'll show you over here. I much prefer it. This is by Thupten Jinpa. He translated this whole 720-page volume. Because of my numerous, so this is Geshe Chokawa, who wrote this, right? Because of my numerous aspirations, I have defied the tragic tale of suffering and have taken instructions to subdue self-grasping. Now, even if death comes, I have no regrets. Yeah, Milarepa also sang a song like this, like, after having practiced ardently for many years, Then he said, now, even if I have to die, I have no regrets. So we should all aspire to that, to using, each day, practicing each day in a way such that, after some time, initially maybe difficult, we make so many mistakes, but, after some years, some months, some years, then we see our behavior improving, our actions of body and speech, and especially in the way our mind, the way we use our mind, we see it improving such that, we feel like, okay, I've really tried, I've really tried to do the best I can since I met the Dharma, or I decided I really wanted to try to practice. And then when we die, we die with peacefully, no regrets, no. Even though we might have made many mistakes early in our lives, we should aspire that, and try to apply ourselves such that, when death comes, then we feel like, we really tried to do something meaningful with our lives. Okay. So any questions or comments in the last few minutes? Mm-hmm.
I was just wondering at some point if you are able to give us some sutras that from maybe Buddha's life or others who have achieved bodhicitta on how they've applied this 7-point mind training, because it's a whole bunch of don'ts
Mm-hmm.
and
Not enough do's. There's a lot of
Just-
do's too. They just don't say do this, do this.
yeah, it's just that I like 25 of them. How am I even going to remember on my when I do tongling or when I have some kind of situation like this?
10, no.
Yeah.
Yeah. No one's expecting you to remember the whole list. I don't either. But yeah, it's something, we come back to the text occasionally, again and again. And then,
Yeah. No, I'm just wondering if you have a sutra that goes with it, then you know the story behind how Buddha, like yesterday you was telling us the story of how Buddha deflected anger, right? Was that it? Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. So that was an afflictive emotion that he noticed in someone else and he deflected that specifically and diffused the tension.
Yeah. But the mind training, this genre of texts, like in this kind of text, it's like a distillation of different points from all different sutras, countless different sutras. But one good place to start is the Golden Light Sutra, especially at the end. There's a chapter, or I think it's at the end, yeah, where the Buddha, you write down the story of Namo Buddha, you can say. Namo Buddha, the story of Namo Buddha, where the Buddha offered his body to a tigress in a past life. That's an excellent example of mind training practice. But the Jataka tales are full of, all these kind of sacrificing oneself and one's comfort and one's possessions, even one's life, in order to benefit others. That's all mind training. So yeah, the Jataka tales is good. There's many other, the Perfection of Wisdom sutras. There's so many. Yeah, Pravardita. You integrate the two. It's not like, yeah. Other questions? Sure, Fred.
Every yoga should be performed as one, which you said don't overcomplicate things, which sounds complicated. Can you summarize it in maybe 2 or 3 more sentences?
Yeah. Well, the idea is that that there's so many different practices, which is true. You see, should I practice this deity or that deity, do this puja? Should I do medicine Buddha puja, or say Tara mantra, or say the Dalai Lama's name mantra, or should I, focus on, I don't know, just the 10 non-virtuous actions, or focus on general single-pointed concentration, or there's so many things, right? Should I read sutras, or should I do prostrations, or but what well, let me ask you this, Fred. In the view of mind training, the mind training practice, Like what is considered the root of all problems?
Mind,
Your own mind.
your own mind.
But within that, not just your own mind, because your own mind also has the potential for enlightenment.
Your afflictions, your self-grasping.
You're self-grasping.
Mm.
You're self-grasping, and what's the root? I mean, okay, self-grasping is the most fundamental affliction. And then from self-grasping, you have selfishness, self-cherishing. Those two. So the idea is that all of those yogas, they should all meet at reducing your selfishness, reducing your self-grasping, right? By generating more caring about others.
Yeah.
Mainly.
So as a practical application, just figure out what you want to practice on a given day and do it with all your heart.
Yeah. And every day when you wake up, think, okay, what's the main thing I want to practice today? Yeah. And the Dalai Lama always says, caring about others, compassion and loving kindness, caring about others, and then bodhicitta, based on that. And then also wisdom. That's the method side. Then on the wisdom side, understanding dependent arising. Everything is a dependent arising. Where is the I? It's not findable in the body, not findable in the mind, not findable outside. I grasp at this I that's just an illusion. I exist, but not in the way it appears. And everything arises from causes and effect. So generate every morning. His Holiness always says, that's the first thing I do, sit up in bed and recite, verses by Nagarjuna or Shantideva, generate, attitude of bodhicitta and wisdom realizing emptiness, and then pray to be able to, practice those through the day. So yeah, it's like that. Bring everything back to that. Okay. Other questions, comments?
Just a comment. I think earlier when I had read about mind training, it just felt like, you are taking the responsibility to, like you're lowering yourself and others are higher than you, and self-cherishing is not good. Other cherishing is good. So it was kind of like, I don't know, I couldn't take it. I felt like as if, like it's lessening my strength, lessening my confidence, and I just have to have others are better and things like that. But I really like that one line in there that had that, misplaced loyalty.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
like good.
Yeah. Yeah. And then also, when I found because I remember when I first learned about bodhicitta, I was in this, you should put yourself lower than others. Yeah, I really kind of took it too literally, Always like, oh, no. But it's so helpful to see living examples. Like I remember my first teacher, Lama Lundrup, the abbot of Kopan. I mean, he's a great bodhisattva, but he really flexes his power. I mean, as the abbot, that's his responsibility to keep everyone in line. Very kind-hearted, but when someone step out of line, then make it known. No, His Holiness too. You see, Dalai Lama. I mean, I guess you probably don't see so much because when you're in a public audience, he shows very nice face. But I've been translating for the ordination ceremony and seeing how he works with the people close around him. Like when he wants something, he'll say, "Hey, if they don't bring it immediately, he said, where's that? Bring it." He's very he's very powerful. No, Lama Zopa Rinpoche also sometimes has very silly, nice, very humble. But sometimes also he really will, when people's ego needs to be slapped down, he really will slap it down, no? And just something like as simple as somebody put a mala on top of their Dharma book. Then he'll lecture them for an hour about, why you're not supposed to do that. As if you've been practicing Dharma for how long and you still do that? What's wrong,
Not considered as harsh words as one of the non-virtues. That's what I'm trying to find the
calling out
boundary.
someone's-
Like when I get angry or say something, am I doing the bad karma now? And then do I have to
If
be
you're
always
angry, then it's
quiet?
different. No? If you're getting angry.
But you could get angry, right? I mean, in this certain two examples, Dalai Lama might be.
He was just showing it displeasure. He was a bit disappointed, I think you could say. He wasn't angry at the person. He wanted to help them. He didn't
I
want
mean,
to harm
upset.
them.
Yeah, angry may be harsh.
But a little-
you're upset by somebody else's
I mean,
behavior.
I don't think Rinpoche's mind was upset either.
Mm.
It was just, I mean, I guess in a normal way we'd say, but it's you know, he's a bit disappointed that this person been practicing so long and they still don't know that. A bit frustrated. Like, yeah, I guess there's a little, you know, unpleasant feeling that goes with that. Although Rinpoche, I'm not sure he really has unpleasant feeling, but definitely showing that aspect of being like, in order to benefit them, you know, it's not like he needs something. It's like in order to help that person, right? Then he talk about.
To Asha's point, I mean, see, Lama Zopa Rinpoche is surrounded by people who are following the Dharma, or not. I mean, maybe he's upset with the people who are following Dharma, but if to a layperson like me um, who is also surrounded by people who don't know the Dharma or haven't been even introduced to it, is but when you see someone is acting out of an afflictive emotion and you know that because you're perceiving it and you're seeing the impact of that on other people, not just yourself, because when they do that you get upset, you're aware, but then people around you are also getting upset. At which point in time you could show your displeasure, right, and say what you're doing, the way you're doing it is incorrect because it's affecting everyone else around you.
When you can show your displeasure in a way that it would be helpful to them.
Yeah, so that because
be
they don't even
beneficial to
know
them.
that that's what they're doing and they're impacting
Right.
the rest of the people.
But if you're going to show your displeasure in a way that's not going to help them in the long term,
yeah,
then maybe better hold your tongue. But if you can show your displeasure, even if it's hurtful in the short term, in the long term, and you have this genuine motivation
right.
in the long term to benefit them. If you can,
Yes.
if you can hold that motivation that actually I care about this person, I want to benefit them, but enough is enough. I have to tell them like how it is,
Right.
right? Then it's okay. But if in
Mm,
your mind you're really like, I'm fed up, I'm just going to let them have it. That's probably not going to lead to a good outcome. No. So it
mm,
really depends on one's if you can see you're saying with a wish to benefit
right.
and you genuinely think in the long term it will be beneficial for them, then okay.
Yeah. I think that
Mainly,
the
yeah.
the motivation is, are they impacting other sentient beings around them because of their behavior? And
Yeah, can
that's
also be.
also
Yeah.
that's also incorrect in
That's
my
true.
opinion.
That's true. Yeah,
Yes.
it can be. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry. We don't have time for the 8 verses of mind training. Maybe another time. And we don't have time for extensive dedication. Because, yeah. Well, yeah, during the practice session, I won't, we'll just practice then. So let's just briefly dedicate. You know. Think of, all you've learned and whatever benefit you've received from the course. Kind of, summarize that for yourself. Like if there's one thing you would take away from this module, like what would it be? And then rejoice, in your own efforts and the efforts of all the others in the course. And then rejoice in all the merit created by countless sentient beings and Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. All those who've, made it possible from the time of Shakyamuni Buddha until now for us to be able to hear this, this beautiful teaching on mind training. So by the force of all this merit, then may we and all sentient beings be free from every form of suffering and the causes of suffering. Especially all the beings in the hell realms, hungry ghosts, animals, and all the human beings with so much less fortunate circumstances than ourselves. And may the Dharma flourish in the world. And may we and others meet the Buddha Dharma and whatever spiritual teaching is most beneficial and helpful in helping us grow in our practice from life to life. May His Holiness the Dalai Lama have a long and stable life. May Tibet be free, exactly in accordance, and may the Chinese government cooperate with His Holiness, follow His Holiness the Dalai Lama's wishes, exactly in accordance with whatever's best for the Buddha Dharma and the world, for the Tibetan people. And may Ocean of Compassion Buddhist Center be free from every obstacle of every conducive condition. And may we and all sentient beings have every form of temporal and ultimate well-being and happiness and the causes of those. Yeah, and be able to practice whatever we found most beneficial from this mind training teaching. And may, especially the attitude of bodhicitta that we have developed, may it not decline, and that we have developed, may it increase more and more. Okay, thank you all, and see you in the practice session.
Thank you, Krishna.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we'll be
So,
sending out some
great.
self-assessments.
Okay, yes, there will be self-assessment as usual. You'll receive an email. And the practice day is September 28th, Sunday, 2 to 5 p.m. Pacific.